John was supposed to be coming through.
Angel calling, I call back. Angel what? Angel,
And no, Angela's at the doctor.
at the doctor's office.
No, do a little bit.
Oh. You have a pen, Bob? A pen?
They have some idea of what's in my bag.
Ben?
So, gotta go with the priorities. I would say
Yeah,
that,
one in front of you,
put them
yeah,
back
one-
to let everybody.
You always have one in front of you?
Always forget.
I
No,
always
I'm
have
saying,
mine.
I think it's a good idea, the committee's just in general, like,
You do that 10
You get pens printed, you mean?
you know,
We had
just
them-
put it back.
Thank you. All right, it's ready to call to order. Not the wrong one. All right, time is 7:06, 8:21. Means called to order, Blasphemy Advisory Board. Take roll call.
Okay, we want to just say your name here for
Ezra Coleman present.
Stephen Hertzberg present.
Rudy Blanco present.
Miguel Martinez present.
Francesca Ortega present.
We have four.
Perfect. Angelo phoned me that he's at the doctor's appointment. And John had texted me that he'll be here.
Okay.
So and please heard from Angel or Brian. All right. Any deferrals, additions, deletions?
Wow,
The agenda. All right, item 4, public comments. Madam, Welcome.
On behalf of Representative Fabricio, in case there's some questions.
welcome. Want to say anything?
I'm just happy to be here.
Come on now, now we know you're lying. Anything online?
We don't, the public comments would have had to been submitted in advance, and we haven't received
Okay.
anything.
All right, so adoption of minutes.
Minutes are attached to the agenda. Page 5 and 6. The June and July. I think June may have been adopted, right?
Yeah.
I look at July minutes, actually, yeah, they were. It's could have been more clear in the minutes, but so just page 7 and through 9. Anyone have any comments, questions, edits? None, just need someone to do a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good, very good.
So getting into item number 6, old business. All right, the response letter to the Miami Limestone Park Association. You had sent me a few emails and phone calls, responses. The emails went out, or the response went out via email and hard copy. Address that we provided. Anything you want to add on that you want to share?
No, just because I received some emails and mailing addresses from you, and I received. At some point, I think the direction was a little different from both of you. For very few individuals. So just to be clear, I sent you a copy and that's what was,
That-
just so
that's
you
fine.
know.
Yeah, what I saw makes sense. I guess actually, on the list you sent me, did you send her also? Because I saw it was basically by State House District, were the state senators also emails available?
The
It was the second time, no?
There was a second
I think
tab.
it was the second.
Okay, I don't remember if I saw a second tab.
Yeah, no, I missed it the first, time, so those were sent later.
Yeah,
When you asked me, that's when I noticed.
The somebody had told me the list I had wasn't updated. So I asked Fabricio and Nikita gave me an updated list.
okay,
Well, that's what I forwarded you. That was the other grouping. We got the one state rep office contacted Isle with a phone number, thinking that the email was, the letters were sent in error. I called them back, and we spoke at length, and this is the intent of this, and this is what's been going on.
Right.
So this is to dispel what they have been doing, which is preventing the elected officials to know that this exists, the problem exists. This office had no idea.
Do we know which office it is?
That-
Which office it was? I hopefully it wasn't a local office.
No.
Okay.
Do you remember who that guy was? You got sent me. I'll tell you now.
I have to look for it.
So, I told him, I said, you understand that if a bill were to, an item would go through the process properly and be deliberated, the entire body would be voting on it. And you're voting on things that aren't in your area. So how are you to know about it? And if you're being prevented from knowing about it, which is even worse, which is why you're telling me you never heard of this problem, that is the intent of this letter to overcome. And he's like, oh, so we have a major problem in our area. Our properties are being destroyed systematically, and you guys are being shielded from knowing the facts. For State Rep Fabricio has submitted several bills for the debate, for review, and they don't even get debated. So if they're being killed by not even being placed on the agenda, we have a problem. And you guys are responsible for all of us statewide. So that is the intent of our committee, and it's to coexist. We're not here to shut them down. They say, they put a lot of information about us and about the issue that is false, and here it is.
Yeah, they don't even make it to the floor.
They don't even make it to the committees.
Wow.
Did I say the name?
So, he's the guy, he was floored. He had no idea. He was totally blindsided with the whole facts. He's like, can I follow up with this? Who was he goes, does it have co-sponsors? I said, on both sides of the aisle and in the Senate as well. Can you give me the numbers, the bill numbers? Absolutely. So I sent him the bill numbers, and he said, I got them. I'm gonna review this, and thank you very much.
It was, just to add to your comment, Representative Hinton, District 21,
That's it.
Alusha, Marion County,
Thanks for that.
ALACHU8 in Marion,
What district?
District 21. Last name Hinton.
So that was pretty, and it was confirming what we suspected, put it that way. But that also tells me that everybody else got them as well. But they
Right.
continue to ignore it, we can only keep pushing what we're doing.
And just if I may follow up on sort of the same theme, I know the invite from the mayor's office was also sent to Julie.
The one that was separate, yeah,
It's no separate. Okay.
that one was mailed and emailed,
Okay, I assume no response.
unless I haven't been made aware.
Right.
So, and then in response, obviously, the mayor was the next thing, there's no response, is where we stand. So we did our part, and it's a matter of, I don't want to say close the door on it, but we can turn the light off in the room. Regarding the pilot program, I mentioned last time that there were, that Chris Colson, the director of the program, resigned.
Right.
Or is no longer there. I don't know if he resigned or not. He's no longer there. They put a job opening, which was felt to be very low in value or salary. So I think that'd be difficult to find the proper person. I sent an email to Mona Wood, who was sitting in and doing, introducing myself and what we do, and that, no reply. But that's in there. I don't know why this is, I apologize.
Yeah. Ms. Wood, do you know that she's took over his role or? how?
No, she's the next in line.
She's just
Um,
intro.
Yeah, so she works there, she's an engineer herself and handle it, but right now, it's a ship without a captain. the issue that, as I mentioned before, was that these blast records showing that there was a blast, they're blasting at above 0.6 in outside the UDB. So with that, the Mayor Kala set up a meeting and invited me to this meeting.
I was gonna say, you had heard from Mayor Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the county heads, including the director of planning, code enforcement, and the building chief. They were a little distraught, I guess, lack of a better word. Kind of like this, kind of wasting time, and that's because they had nothing to do with it, blah, blah. And I said, well, the issue, I was advised that the UDB is being moved eastwardly. So if they're blasting, being allowed to blast without any regard to anything outside the UDB, if the line is moved even further east, then more homes, more properties are being exposed to this. Never mind the fact that the homes that are already being exposed that are outside of it. And the director of planning said, first of all, the UDB is not being moved eastward. It is, if anything, it moves outward. And the area, the section that they were mentioning is in fact being moved outward. So we'll incorporate these residential area that was being affected. That's where the monitor is. So
But
it's
the
contradicting.
UBT map that we saw is the map that we're talking about.
Yeah, but it's moving westward, not in
Okay.
eastward. They're adding more land to develop, in other words. So the information that was provided, this is why I said that it's not confirmed, and I don't like to dispel or inform anybody unless I can confirm it. So it was confirmed, and this one, the director of code enforcement is like, the discussion's over. And I said, I want to advise you guys, I didn't request this meeting. I requested somebody from planning to come to our meeting to educate us, because I didn't know this is it, and this is how this came about. So the guy offered, he said, well, if you want me to go, and I said, if you wish to volunteer, we will receive you happily. And then the other, no, we're not here to. So it kind of quelched any further volunteerism, extra time. I'm just putting it on the record. But it is what it was, what it is, what it is. However, subsequent to that, I saw these gentlemen in passing while I was in hearings, and I was advised that Kava is in fact doing high-end discussions with upper officials, if you will, about the matter. So she is addressing it. I am not aware of anything that's coming out of it, if anything. And she said 90 days. 90 days will be next month, in September.
Yeah.
See what their findings are. I did provide them information regarding this and regarding regulations that are the county regulations that are still in the books and are being enforced. Aside from the fact that the chapter is not, so which means they're cherry picking laws, which I personally have a problem with, and I let them know. I said, you are following these regulations or enforcing these regulations, but you're not doing this. That's cherry picking, because the entire chapter is a whole. You can't separate it. Give it to me in writings. They did. I mean, look it up. It's you know, and Director of Public Works is responsible for this.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes out of that. So and obviously the construction mining materials, what we discussed last time, is regulations is where it defines the limits, legal limits of 0.5 ppb and the air pressure as well. It's found in that section of regulations, and that is not a statute, but in fact a fire marshal regulation. So that wraps that part up. Now going to any questions, any comments? Go number 7. We have 2 parts. So Ms. Ortega,
Miguel, thanks for confirming that at least the conversation is occurring from the mayor's office. Thank
Right.
you.
Yep.
That was important to hear.
I think so. I
Yes.
think so.
Thanks.
I think it was very significant, and I was very appreciative that was important. Again, we'll see what comes out of it, but
It's okay.
it's a step.
Right,
it's a step.
work in progress,
It's better than
right?
what we've had.
Thank you.
And again, I also thanked Abel who setting up that meeting for the one that was the bellwether for that. So we have Ms. Francesca Ortega, who is an expert in communications and marketing. And so we're gonna hold her feet to the fire, and we may not evaluate what she's saying, but we're gonna critique it heavily. And maybe take her out back and beat her with an ugly stick or something, if she fails flagrantly, which I doubt, I really doubt it. So she's gonna turn the world around. Floor is yours, dear.
What an introduction. Do you want me to email it to you or?
To I,
um,
or can she get to the, for the goods on the camera?
No, we don't have any, or if we do, I don't know it because we never use it, but I can send it to that email and just pop it up.
Okay.
Okay, well, if you send it to I'll work with it.
Okay. Yeah. And I can share the screen so that.
Yeah.
That it's,
Screen share,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
right, so do that.
so the recording will share.
Or is it,
Yeah.
yeah, PowerPoint? You can do PowerPoint now?
Yes.
You can put a PowerPoint on that?
I'm not, but I think it's still, it always has a setting where you can do it anyways.
Yeah. I sent it to you.
I'm not gonna have to look it up.
Did you get to the Wi-Fi? Tom?
Well, it's just that.
So you guys wanna move on the other item while I do this and go with this one?
Okay, so what?
Just so I don't, cause I don't know if it's gonna take a while. I know sometimes when it's files, it takes a while. I haven't gotten anything yet. So.
All right, so while that's being set up, item 7B. I asked, State Rep Fabricio, to be in attendance to give us some guidance for lobby. This year's session, it's earlier
Yeah.
than normal. We cordially sent, staff to give us his hand.
It couldn't come because, my Sarah's Agatha's mom passed away, so we have to do.
Ooh,
But any questions, I can. But I can answer.
Do you have the calendar and
Yeah, I have, they have the interim committee starting in September. I'm sure he's gonna, the Speaker of the House selects the people for each committee, but people have the option of wanting which committee to do. And, yeah, September 7th. I'm sorry, September 18th is the first interim committee meeting, and that's where they set up all the committees and put the members in the committees. We should do something like, yeah, because the session starts January 2020.
So,
January
January 9th?
9th?
January.
Yeah, it's an off, it's an off year, so an off
Yeah.
year since
Yeah.
January.
Correct.
Election is we start,
March.
March, right? Do we know when, or have an idea? When actual committee weeks would start prior to the session?
Yeah, there's a deadline where you submit the bills and then they go to committee. And then that's where the committee approves, and then it goes to the board.
Right.
So, but again, they're having the first one in September, second in October 16th, then November 6th, November 13th, December 4th, and then the last week is December 11th.
Okay.
So, after that, I guess all the committees.
And I found out November 13th and the 14th is concrete days.
I saw that, I think, I saw someone email.
Yeah,
So,
I'm like, they have concrete days, whatever that means.
I mean, it's a huge business, you know,
Yeah.
that. I'm not surprised they have concrete there,
Yeah.
especially in Florida, massive.
So I wonder
billions and billions
if
of
we should
dollars.
make an effort to be there, maybe with body bags and suits around.
Do we, I mean, I don't hate the idea, you go right before, right after, or during.
Yeah.
That's right. There. And also you want to make sure that regardless of the schedule, it's when the majority of representatives will be there, because other,
Yeah.
they're not in session, and they're gonna be flying back and forth, some of them won't be there, or if you're in committee weeks, right, where the committees are meeting, then they're going to be there. It's just a matter of, whether you want to go there right then and there, but then it might be hard.
Is it Tallahassee too, or?
No, it has-
And,
I believe so.
I mean, there's Realtor Day. there's
Yeah, of
all
course.
that stuff.
It's concrete day.
So it's kind of concrete day, is it one day or 2 days? I mean, yeah, it's massive.
13th and the 14th. November 13th and 14th.
What is that, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Probably. Probably.
I know.
Yeah, the Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah, no, Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah,
No,
that's
13th,
right, because the
14th,
ninth, right.
Monday, and Tuesday. Yeah. So you could. Move that Tuesday and Wednesday.
I'm thinking,
I mean, I like the idea.
maybe Wednesday and Thursday would be better.
I personally like the idea. I just don't know, like, that's the question for the representative, the question for lobbyists. Is everyone just gonna shut the door and let's go, on concrete day, or does it make a lot of sense?
Right.
But I like it. I think last meeting we discussed of thinking about trying to do something prior to session and then
Yeah.
going
They
to
call it
session.
several times.
That makes a lot of sense, I think, because if you're not pushing for the bill to get on committee, then when you go to session, it's a lot of times it's too late.
For the blasting is being worked on.
Right.
For the new draft. I wanna wait a little bit to make it.
Right.
It's always good to be in the room.
Yeah, but
No,
because I watched, I mean, they're very. Instructive, I mean, I learned a lot about the process of how laws, I mean. You, when they have a committee meeting, on a specific bill. The public can attend. And you can speak.
Right.
Yeah, well, if the bill ever actually made,
But, right,
committee,
if it makes
then
sense.
we would all just figure out how to get there. And deal with it there. The point is to get it just there.
And you have, usually 24 to 36 hours to know prior to that date.
No, I
Get out
know,
there.
Yeah, we'll get to the information, it's just that I don't have it here right now, because they're in the process of getting organized.
Notice it.
So,
right. It's just, I think it's, we need to have a discussion or at least agree that we should try to make a decision at the next meeting, so we're not doing things a little bit more last minute like we've had, which hasn't been a problem. It's never cost us a lot of money.
We pulled it off,
But
but
pulled it off fine, but I think that going before session and then during session makes a lot of sense. You go before session, try to be very focused. And maybe just hit the committee members as
Right.
best as you can, or whatever, there's probably gonna be multiple committees that the bills apply
you have to
to.
know. Which
Right,
one
which
we're
we don't
gonna
have
activate.
yet.
You don't know.
And you will know that for at least 48 hours before.
right, which and that's
And
a
the cost.
short time and I gotta run.
Well, no, I'm not saying if it gets to you, I'm saying lobbying for it to get to committee. Get to a hearing. Right?
Right.
If it actually gets to a hearing, then.
It's a double, it's a two-phase thing. One is to get on the agenda,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
then when is the agenda?
And we won't have enough time as a board to convene and do that. We'll just
No.
do
I
that.
don't know, the lobbyists would know if they would have. Or for reason, or.
For
or
basic-
Tom's office, yeah.
But the issue is to be able to get the item on the agenda, that by the chair not putting on the agenda, it's dead.
Right,
It-
which
it
is something you do that is discussed during committee weeks. And then get it on the agenda during the session.
Now, Rommel is no longer, he's termed out,
No, he won, he won last year. He won on opposed.
he was, yeah, but I thought it was the previous year.
Yeah, 2 years.
Right, so I
He
thought,
wanted, this will be, if he's turned out, this will be his last year.
This would be.
So he will be present
I thought it was this past session was his last one.
No, it can't be, because
this year. Is
this year. it's gonna be great.
No, remember, the sessions are offset, and different districts are offset. It's not a global,
Well, they're offset by, no, house is every 2 years period for everybody.
correct, but the cycle of sessions are per district, the districts are offset.
I don't, I mean, I'm pretty sure the house is every 2 years, doesn't matter what district.
Not time, that's the time, I'm saying, but the 2 years is
I
offset.
don't know, I don't think they are, I thought they're just even years for all.
I'm saying it's staggered, we go.
Yeah, you're saying you're saying summer would be
Right.
voted on odd
Yeah.
years and even years, that I don't know, I know that happens sometimes with Canadian senators, because they have like 4 and 2 year terms, or something like that. I think the House is every 2 years. I think Representative Fabricio is
Called Google.
18, 20. or-
No, because that's our area,
All right,
but other areas would be the even, the odd years instead of the even years.
yeah, I'm not aware, I really don't know, I don't think so, I think all
I thought they-
110 districts are in the beginning, that might be right, but all I know is Ramos today. He's there. Whether this is the last time he's there or not,
Right.
I don't know, I think it is, maybe he'll run for Senate, but. He's
I
there.
heard he was running for Senate, that,
I'm sure he will.
that he was gonna be. this
Yeah,
session.
could be that. That I'm aware of, I can just look that up right now.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, we should. I think it's beneficial to go
That's one.
before and after.
No?
Ramos is one. He's there. I'm trying to look it up.
Yeah, he's still there. He was elected in 2016. So this will be.
Staggered terms.
This will be,
Senators serve staggered terms and representatives serve 2-year terms.
right,
Either house may initiate. So.
But it is staggered terms,
for senators.
Senators.
senators, not House.
Here, can you give it this? to me?
I believe you.
No, because I'm wearing the make believe glasses. Thank you, I always keep this here just in case.
Continuing lobby, unlike the House of Representatives, whose entire membership faces election every 2 years.
Right.
But,
So he finishes this year. 2022, 2024.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the House
Yeah.
actually website has a.
Yeah.
News alert on, that was,
Yeah.
it was sent out a while ago, but, yeah, it's the weeks that she discussed. 1822, 1620, 6 to 9, no, Veterans Day is observed November 10th, 13, 17. So these are weeks that. The
Right.
representatives should be there, especially the concrete week, it makes sense, concrete day, dates. 13th and 17th, they're supposed to be there.
as long as we have concrete shoes, we're okay.
To allow for, this is interim committee meetings. And then the regular session starts January 9th, so January 9th is when you have the chance to have it actually hit committee. Public,
If it gets there.
and- right, exactly.
So the intro is kind of what we went to that we saw this for transportation,
Yes,
something like that as well,
Right,
if it gets there.
right.
So I guess, Mr. Fabricio has to
I mean,
manage, meander his thing to get, to see what committee he hits.
that, and then, maybe we'll,
I think it's every.
we'll speak to your office again and figure out if we want to do a pre-session effort. What timeline makes sense? Maybe it does make a lot of sense to go like that Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday of concrete days. It'll be fresh in everyone's mind.
I'm thinking right after, because there'll be like, well, what about this, what about that? We can answer, we can field the questions as opposed to the way around.
But it's also something that we need to discuss with the lobbyists, and.
right, like
representatives'
last year.
office.
Right.
So, I mean, they
And he
help us
told
get
you-
those meetings.
Right, remember, yeah.
You see the
There's only so much that we can
use.
use personally.
And he told you not to go.
College could
before,
run,
not
so
to
you have a
Go after.
You
Appropriation committee,
that-
Well,
not to go earlier. You could-
those two.
How they put it in the same position over and over?
Senator. No, the governor,
Earlier date.
Really?
that's just hard,
Really?
the governor. one. Yeah. The governor. one.
So Ramos appointed chair again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. We just, I guess, all I'm saying is I'll have some ideas about like arrangements, but I think next meeting we should be ready to determine. If we want to do some trip, it probably makes sense to do it in November.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. But we'll also, we'll speak to the representative's office, see if he agrees.
But I think it's boiling down, it's gonna be multiple trips.
I, if you actually lobby to get it heard at committee, which is the first step, we can't go in regular session, you have to do it before.
Committee.
Right, you have to go to the committee.
When it's already there.
Right, we have to go through committee meetings, or else we're still doing a good job informing the representatives, but if you're there during regular session, you're really advocating for either a miracle,
You're right in their face.
or
And you're right.
you're educating them to vote for it next year. So why don't we try to get it on committee this time, which means going there in November, October. So I guess another thing would be for the town to speak to the lobbyists about that. If they have a preference regarding the timing to try to send a group up, set up meetings to push for representatives for these bills to make the committee. And maybe discuss, would it make sense to go right after those concrete plays?
And maybe after Fabricio submits the bills that we know what committees have.
Yeah, we still don't know which committee it is.
What route.
And he's gonna know.
I would expect so, but
The last,
He submits,
committee that reviewed this was regulatory reform and economic development, so.
correct.
Right, I mean, he had, right, but also if he's doing the separate bills, he might have two committees. He has,
Right.
I
He's
don't know.
gonna split them up and,
Right.
and he's breaking down things further.
Right.
All right.
So I mean, I don't know if we want the town to reach out to lobbyists to get.
I think, yeah, I think if we just start it now, start.
We
crack the ball.
need answers tomorrow, we need answers next meeting,
Right.
one we
We
should.
don't need it tomorrow, we did before.
Right,
That's how you.
I'll
email me and
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we do, but I think that's what we do, and then reach out to your office again. I'm not gonna say it.
You have to be proactive, because once they start getting all the scheduling done,
Ooh,
you want her in front
right,
of that April.
right, right,
Because at the end, everybody is scrambling.
right. Agreed.
Even though it's always been the case from the lobbyists and even the representatives, the meetings you get them like 5 days before, 3 days.
Few days,
It
yeah,
is.
Yeah, that's just what it is. Yeah.
I think it's 72 hours, 3 days.
yeah. Is there a notice, a window of time, that, I mean, it has to be, that there's
Depends what kind of
notification
meetings they are.
of the agenda of the meeting. So that we know they're being discussed or not.
Yeah, it has to be, yeah.
It has to
The
be.
agenda is sometimes given to us a day before.
24 hours in advance.
But now, do they
I
have,
don't think 24-hour notice, that's the statute.
It's when, well, I don't know if it's a statute, but sometimes when I get the emails, it shows what committee is going to be meeting, and of course, you don't know what's in their agenda at that time. Just say this committee is meeting at 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and then.
No, Fabricio had told me that previously, sometimes we got 24-hour notice and he just like fly up the next day. I'm like, whatever it takes, that's what it means, let's do it. That is what it is.
like, this isn't necessarily that, this is.
Right.
To go up there to push for the bill to get to committee, to get in front of the committee to get voted on. I think, I don't, of course, I have my bias, but I think if a bill like this goes in front of the committee. It makes sense to just pass it in committee, and I get it, that's not the way it works, but it just logically just makes.
But because we're only seeing one side,
Yeah.
they're seeing both sides, but they really get one side and it's not ours.
Right.
You have to live in there to really know what goes on.
Yeah.
Once you experience, you already know.
It's another world. And making sense is not in that norm.
That's not a priority.
All right, anything else? So you guys have your homework?
Yeah, I think for that, I'll speak out, so we get
All right.
the lobbyists, and then let's reach out to Fabricio about this again, so. And then let's just, I guess, all I'm saying is we should make a decision at the next meeting, because when our next meeting, we're already in. committee weeks,
And we're short on that.
Maybe, yeah.
For some type of October or November trip. I like the concrete dates. I think. It's just like-
That's good, you can avoid it.
Yeah, I guess live for sort of.
I like the concrete days too, just the
Has my-
irony.
Yeah.
I'm from New Jersey, when they have concrete and like you choose it, they don't.
I think we're clear there. It's just, my goal is that we can make a decision At least on the first trip next meeting.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so
Back
Yes,
to
sir.
communication.
back to who?
Don't, you should be insured.
No question.
Okay, so first I wanted to start off talking about myself a little bit. So that everybody could understand, the reason. Oh, yes. So I'm a wife, a mother of two and an entrepreneur, but I have 15 years experience planning advertising campaigns. Media buying, managing different brands. I put some logos up there that some people might recognize. Most of the elected officials I worked with mainly signed non-competes, so. Can't really promote those too much, but the point is that this is like my area of expertise. That's why, they don't want me to join the team, and I think that exploiting these resources can help get us a lot more exposure and participation for things that have been mentioned in previous meetings that we want to do. So some of the goals in the responses that I've received, observing feedback during meetings as well as the emails we've exchanged is that we want to increase the capabilities of outreach in our community. People need to learn what it is that blasting entails and what it means for them as homeowners. We're very close to it. I've always known that blasting existed in my community, but I'm surprised every time someone asks, like, that thing that makes your house shake every day. I'm like, what are you talking about? The thing, like, it's called blasting. There's a lot of ignorance in our community. And I know that sometimes it catches people off guard, but there's a lot of ignorance, and us putting information out there to educate them could definitely be beneficial long term.
If I can interject, because this is something that this term comes up, like 95% of the conversations, and replace home with your property.
Oh,
Because me as a business owner, my
that's
building
your-
is being affected equally as my home. So I get a double whammy.
You're right.
So just so that we're all, everybody's affected. It's not just, your
Yeah.
it's not usually home, it's your property.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll add that to any, information that we disseminate in the future, because obviously we want to illustrate it properly. I am no expert in this blasting realm of science, but I hope that, once we go through this, we can establish proper messaging in well, let me not get ahead of myself. The point is, we want to increase awareness, right? We want people to know what it means, what consequences come from blasting, and also for them to recognize common signs. So sometimes people think that the cracks in their exterior walls are simply sediment cracks, concrete cracks over time, and then they don't realize that there's more to it than just that. So, educating them on little tells and things to look for to ensure that they know where to go when they see those things. And obviously we need to coexist with the blasting because it is what it is, but the objective is to ultimately come up with a solution for both sides, right? Okay, so I think our number one goal and priority needs to be with establishing a brand identity for the blasting advisory board and for information that we communicate. So whenever you see an advertisement on TV, right, there's certain things that you hear and you automatically associate with the brands. Obviously, we're not going to compete with Nike and Adidas, but the point is when people see growing beautifully, they associate that to Miami Lakes. And when you hear, when you see the Miami-Dade County hook, you associate that to anything that's, approved by Dade County or published by Dade County. So as of right now, it's been brought to my attention that this is like our identifier or logo, for lack of a better term. So the first thing I want to put to motion is a rebrand of that identifier so that we could have something that really represents what we stand for.
That came from the town, right?
No, regardless of where it came from, I'm just looking for a more modernized. Approach.
Yeah, I don't even know when they came from town.
I know.
Honestly,
I don't even know who that came
That might have came from Brian or one.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't matter where it came from.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's just make it a little more sexy, so that when it's used to promote messaging, people eventually will associate this icon and this image with the information we publish. And to also identify things that are legitimately coming from us. Because I'm sure you guys have seen those people who come to your door and they leave like a paper with a rubber band and that says Miami-Dade County approved windows and doors, and basically it's like Y-Green or Pace, and they swap out your roof and your windows and doors. They say they're Miami-Dade County approved because the products that they installed are Miami-Dade County approved. And because they use the county's logo, people associate that with like a legitimate company. Definitely misleading and illegal, but obviously we wouldn't be doing any of that, but you know, we want to put out information that people recognize as legitimate because they associate it to us, right? So all those in favor?
No. Yeah,
You have a motion?
yeah, I'll second that and then we can speak to the town about that.
Yes.
So,
All in
what,
favor?
I think she needs to finish her whole presentation in case there's more than one motion and then.
we can just,
Well,
yeah,
it's-
Well, I was doing it individually in case there was one that the answer was no, but
well, I have a question for town. How do we, I mean, is that not a question for both of you? Is that something that you do, or is that something that we need to engage the town to work on some graphics and provide ideas? or
so the answer is yes and no. Like it could be done on my end, but if the town has the resources to do it, we could definitely explore that. Like I'm open to either. I emailed a few minutes before the meeting asking like what the branding guidelines were for the town, because obviously we need to adhere to those rules. Once I review that, I can better answer your question, but the answer of the resources would come from them.
Right, okay, so I guess I would then add an amendment to your motion that you work with the town, with file directly and work on getting us
Get some ideas.
a logo to present as
Okay.
soon as you can, maybe, I don't know.
Do you guys have a graphics team on board? Like how does the
Yeah,
structure
we
work?
do. So, I can't go into too much detail just because that's not me and I don't want to mislead you. But anything related to this, anyways, I take back to the team, and if there's any questions or concerns, anything that could be done, anything that can be done, they would be doing to clarify that. So I actually, while we were here, forwarded your message. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it was right now. I forwarded your message to the communications director and specialist. And my other colleague whose title I forgot. But they're the ones that would get back to you in
Okay.
terms of anything like very specific of what you would need, of what they would need, et cetera. And if there's any other additional questions, they really are the professionals when it comes to the branding guidelines and anyone. So,
Okay, so that email connection has already happened.
yes.
I just haven't seen it. 'cause-
Yeah, I know, it was.
Oh,
right
okay.
now. But
Okay.
they are the ones that would answer that with the exact detail that I cannot provide.
Okay, so to answer your question in a deeper level of detail, if the graphics team from the town takes it over, I'll work with them directly. If they cannot, because of whatever reason, it doesn't matter, then we'll do it outside.
Well, if it's at a cost, so we can reduce the cost. That's a win-win, because they're gonna have to approve whatever it is anyway.
Right.
Right, yeah, I mean, is there something like that doesn't have a cost, the team is there already, right?
Yeah, usually, I know that, for example, we've had, I believe, 2 committees that were just added in the last year. And I know with my colleagues who created those logos, like I can speak
Okay.
at least to that. So I know that they are very much capable of doing such a thing. I don't know how this one came about, but again, they can help me with it if it needs to be redesigned, I guess.
I mean, it's that catch all
No,
tray that I made.
So if you get an email from Firestone, that's the direct.
Oh, okay.
I did the catch all tray, which has the brick wall with a crack. Something simple. That, I mean. I can give it as an idea, or, you know,
No, I mean,
if you guys, something like
this
that.
is not anything I know anything about, so. If we have someone from the town that can help build, create the graphic, and we have you to have ideas and figure out what looks good and what's a good
Right.
brand,
Right,
do it, and then you obviously have to the board, then whatever meeting, hopefully the next meeting.
What I wonder,
And then. it could be-
if that is the guy, the start point.
No, I think you,
Yeah, I mean, we need to get some guidance of what we do, what this is
Yeah.
about. Um,
my guidance will probably be the wrong guidance, so, yes, I agree, we can give guidance, but I trust people to do that, I don't do anything like that. I think that the goal this needs to be to get something that looks good, that makes sense, that people that do that for a living think is good, and then get it approved.
Agreed, but I think they need something.
do you have specific elements in mind that you'd like to see? A
uh,
cracked wall seems to be a
I think
priority
a
since
cracked
you
wall
mentioned
is
it.
the most
Okay,
identifiable
Yeah, crack wall, the big crane in the back, no.
pile driver.
I have no idea, I just know that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a conference table
It's what's something, you know.
with pawns.
Right now.
Right, that was the idea, because again, we are a board,
An advisory
we're
board.
not a committee, we don't post, bike rides, and then we had once. We don't, we're not having celebrations, we're here to advise the council and try to get something done that hasn't been
Yeah.
done.
Right.
So keep that in mind, I guess, too.
We want to illustrate action.
Right.
Yeah, illustrate action, illustrate something.
Do you have any more words you want to add here into the illustration of this potential item, element?
My personal take is something that people can identify. In simplistic terms, like a cracked wall. I don't know, I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know what else people can identify with them, you can't, a bomb going
Like
off
the
like that
lightning
show.
bolt, it's a lightning.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Make sure you step crack. Make sure you.
The step crack, yeah.
Yeah, something like, obviously it's share, center, what you guys used before.
Alright,
But yeah, I think the goal is to get as much information as possible. Maybe bring a few, I don't know how many the town will be willing to provide.
Mhm.
I think next meeting, hopefully,
yeah, it would be nice, at least, or a couple of ideas,
and then we can vote on it.
Okay.
and one massage.
Another piece of the puzzle will be that it also depends on the ability for the town to turn it around, right? So I would love for you guys to be able to take things with you if you go to session, let's say October, November. If the team needs X amount of time to fulfill the task, if we keep it in the town, then at that point, we'd have to evaluate priorities, like, do we prefer to wait, or do we rather get something turned around quicker? I can't speak for their turnarounds, but I definitely know it's something that may come up. So I just wanted to, make it clear for expectation purposes, where it could go. So, okay, perfect. We have the notes on that and we will move forward. Okay,
I'm sorry, piggybacking on that. Any progress or any information on the budgets that we have proposed?
Next workshop is next.
Yeah, there's a budget workshop, I believe, next
September.
week,
Yeah.
but
September.
in order, in regards to your final decision of what your budget is gonna be for the upcoming fiscal year, there's 2 budget hearings for that, and that's in September. And it's literally the second one is a few days before the fiscal year starts, so you really don't know until like
I wouldn't,
October.
honestly, I wouldn't expect the budget. We'll have to probably go to the town and ask for money.
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna be,
I doubt it, they did the rollback rate, so it's gonna be hard for any committee to get more money, I think they might, I wouldn't be surprised if committees would cut budgets a little bit. Since we never,
Budget or you cut taxes, you
right,
can't have both.
since we never had a budget, I think, I don't know, I think they've gotten used to just us requesting the funds, and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
we have the funds, no
Yeah.
problem.
we made a pretty strong case, but.
Agreed,
But
but
exactly
they've
that.
always given us the money at the same time. Maybe we can, if let's go to the workshops and ask for it, let's
Right.
email, Marilyn
And
and
Tony.
others. And Tony and ask for it, but, at the same time, I'm not worried that they wouldn't give us the money anyway.
But the ask is already in the document, right?
Yeah.
Yes, correct, yes, so.
And
it's
they've
there
been
already.
present with that.
It's there, just
Yeah.
like last time, it was there last time, and then
This
there
is-
was a last minute amendment that
That's
just said,
normal.
we want to keep all committee
No
budgets the same,
Yeah.
so no
That's normal,
changes.
Steve.
Yeah, I know, I
That's-
know. That's why I'm saying, I wouldn't
This is
expect.
usual.
I wouldn't expect a budget, that's all.
No.
We can advocate for it, of course, but I just wouldn't expect it.
And just to be perfectly clear, the first budget hearing is Thursday, September 14th. Yeah,
September 14th?
Thursday, September 14th. And the second budget hearing is Tuesday, September 26th. 4 or 5 days before the new fiscal year. And then the budget workshop is next week, August 29th.
August 29th is the workshop that you have to be present.
What time is that?
6:30 p.m.
I have that on my agenda.
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday,
6:30?
6:30. And be very patient because this motion fixtures.
Oh. So we gotta go first, what you're saying.
Is that something that we could vote on to make sure that you can actually speak on behalf of the board instead of just saying, I'm the Del Martinez speaking myself? So you can say, hey, we want a budget, on behalf of the Blast Advisory Board, I'm here to ask for a budget. Got another budget.
So what has to happen is somebody from the dais has to ask. For the committee. To go first,
Right, no, I get it, I don't.
No, but generally.
I get it that it would.
but not,
It'll take a while, maybe we can make that request. but-
To
Make a
be
motion on that.
completely
Yeah.
honest with you guys, and again, I'll double check after
Special
the meeting,
district
I don't know that committees are even, not that it's not a part of it, but I don't know that committees are speaking.
That's it.
Are a part of this, because committee, there was a budget
Yeah, right.
workshop done for committee specifically.
Yeah.
When you present it, so I don't know that there's a section for this.
but
here,
there might not
however-
be a section, but he, as in public comments, he. will.
Correct, but he's saying not as public comment, you're saying it as part of, like, kind of when we
Right.
do the council meeting.
A workshop is different than a council meeting.
Right, there's not,
So, I'm just
Can you?
stating, I don't think that that's a part of
No,
it.
a workshop is not part of that it can't be part of an agenda in a workshop meeting. So you would
No,
have
right.
to speak. During public
Right,
comments.
but what Steven's asking is if I can go representing us, we need to vote on, put a motion in that I will represent the committee, the group, us. And speak on our behalf,
Right, instead of just.
as
speaking-
opposed to me as a private person,
Right,
which
and
I've done.
you could always do, right, any of us can say, hey, I want to support.
Yeah.
Blast Advisory Board, but technically, we're not speaking on behalf of the
Right,
board.
I go as McGilmore
You
James
can
or I
use
go
the
as the chair.
workshop. In a workshop, there's no action taken either.
Right, correct, but still, I think if we want someone to say, I'm coming, even at the workshop in public comment, I'm coming from the Blast Advisory Board.
I'm speaking on behalf
I
of
don't
Black.
know the answer to that.
So put a motion in. I
You
mean,
can say that.
I'll put a motion that
Put a mo- we'll be
you
safe.
should go to the budget workshop and speak on behalf of the board to advocate for a budget.
you tell me what to do now. It's all in favor? Aye.
Perfect.
All right.
It's like
Let's
if
get back.
regardless, I'll be in contact with you.
And yeah, that's the next thing.
All right, let's, I think we should try to move forward with.
Okay. So going back to reference to what we currently have to distribute information. I just added a sample of the current flyer on there, and the idea would be to basically illustrate the information at a much lower level. It's recommended that it be at a 3rd grade reading level to ensure that the recipient of the information can digest it properly. Now, this is a scientific matter. That task in itself is a very hard one. I'm not saying that it will be done that way. I am saying that the rule of thumb for sharing information to the public is that. Whether you agree or disagree is not the
No,
thing I'm looking for. It's just that, you know, there are a lot of illustrations on there, a lot of information. And, you know, everyone in this table is educated and is able to digest that and understand exactly what it illustrates, but that doesn't mean that every recipient of the information who's a resident or a business owner in the affected areas can digest and understand the same way. So my request is that we cater the communication to the recipient. So if we're communicating to elected officials, obviously the verbiage is fine, but if
They
we're
love
communicating.
Everybody loved this shorter version of what we handed out. I mean,
It's been improving.
Yes.
But the problem, the challenge of this, not the problem, the challenge is it is a highly technical issue.
Mhm.
So if we dumb it down to a certain level, you may lose what the issue is. Because I mean, it's like,
Right.
what's the big deal? All concrete cracks, as you said, which
Right,
is one of the things that they fear.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
right.
Concrete cracks for a reason.
And I'm not saying, that's why I was saying that the piece of collateral needs to be adjusted by the recipient. So you can't
And you
say it the
always-
same way to a homeowner as the same way you say it when you go to committee week and the same way you say it to an HOA or property manager. You know, so in adjusting how you disseminate the information will allow it to resonate to people better. And then it will give us the buy-in and the cooperation that we're looking for, because every person that you talk to, you don't want to achieve the same objective with them, right? The
Right.
conversation that you have with a homeowner in PSN whose driveway is cracked is not the same that you want from Fabrizio's office, you know, as an example. So obviously just adjusting the information to the recipient, and since it was brought to my attention that a larger buy-in in the community is important, then it definitely needs to be brought to a level that is understood by anyone in the community.
Yeah, I don't disagree, it's just I pointed that that's what the standard is.
What do you mean?
Third grade.
Third grade.
Oh,
But that might be the case, and when you see political advertising stuff, it is very, very straightforward and simple stuff sometimes.
That doesn't mean that you can't get more information.
Right.
The introduction of the information is at that level.
Yeah.
And then if you seek and your call to action is to get more information, obviously, eventually you will get to this level. But it also depends on the level of involvement of the person that's responding to the communication, right?
So the way I see it is, for what we hand out to elected officials, people who actually show up to the meetings, things like that, maybe that stays the same.
Yes.
But
Yes,
something that we need to just hand out to randomly. or to the
Something,
public needs to
yes.
be,
like the postcard you're
No,
doing.
I was gonna say,
Like,
yeah. If you're gonna condense it to this,
it's gotta
You
be
can't
something that
illustrate
sounds
that.
willing to do more than one
You know?
version,
Right.
since they picked. We have no budget.
well, my recommendations aren't necessarily to pay for anything as of right now, because information can be spread in many ways that don't cost money. So, you know, the reiteration of the verbiage, in my opinion, should come from this committee. And then if, obviously with the town's approval, but I don't think it's realistic to expect them to write it, you know? I mean,
No,
is that
well, we
wrong?
can't depend on, we cannot have outside writing it because they don't know it.
Right,
So you can't,
so if it's coming from us, then we're not making
right,
anyone else, yeah.
but that's just it then, how far. I've explained to this group and this,
Yeah.
this has been a discussion, heated discussion many years. And in my opinion, the reality is, if I'm gonna be discussing an item with you guys, the audience,
Yes,
then you need to be brought to a level that we can
Absolutely.
discuss it.
right,
I understand what you're saying, okay, but we're not discussing here, we're discussing out
Right.
there,
right,
and people, the concrete cracks, what's the big
Right.
deal? So the question, the challenge always is, how do we do it? What do we say? What are we gonna do to explain somebody that chooses? It's under the true definition of the word, not to be insulting, but they're choosing to be ignorant on a subject. And we have to just educate them on something, or to have a discussion with something, so typically you start with an education. We're not gonna do that now, we're gonna say, how do we discuss it at their level? And so they can understand it,
In some cases, you would have to go to their level.
correct, but how? I mean, you know,
And
it-
sometimes you really, listen,
It's hard.
It's hard. It's
It's
hard.
hard.
content, topic content is not all they're good
Exactly.
stuff.
Correct,
It just isn't.
correct.
It's all content driven.
Correct.
So maybe the majority is third grade, but there's some content that is not third, there's no comprehension. Unless you
Right,
say it
that's
the way
what-
you say it.
right,
right,
and that's my point, that's it.
Okay, I agree with you.
So how do you, to get the hook onto a third grader?
I teach marketing.
And
so
I think it's
understand.
more than verbiage is graphic.
Mhm.
Do you have this? This, is it,
Right,
is it,
I don't disagree with you, it doesn't necessarily have to be in words, it will definitely be better translated in a form that's like a visual aid. And I think it also should be associated with like an explanation and more to it, but I am not expecting, you know, this adjustment to be made for people in this room, more so for the people out there.
right,
So in a previous meeting, it was discussed that we wanted to, you know, involve the public and let's say, get 50 people to hop on a bus and go. The 50 people who are gonna hop on that bus, a lot of them are going to get hooked based on the visual information that you give them in a manner that they can understand in a third grade reading level that makes them spark the interest to get involved and show up to the first
fair
meeting.
enough.
Then after they understand third grade, we can give them fifth grade. And then after they understand that, we can kind of complex it a little bit because it also depends on the level of involvement of the person. There are recipients of the information that all they're gonna do is click on our complaint link, report complaints every day. And they may not know nothing about seismic damage or how things are being affected or why or all the nuances behind it, but they're gonna be filing complaints, which
Right.
ultimately helps in aiding the growth of our message, you know? But then you have the person who wants to show up and go to Tallahassee, and that's good too, because we're gonna bring them up to that level.
I get just, so on the same page, countless complaints to me. Hey, look at my driveway. Look, that's the blasting damage. No, it's the oak tree that's 6 inches from your driveway. It's
Right.
lifted the curb up. It's
Right,
a root that's under it. You can see it. It's not blasting damage,
the blasting,
you know, and, but
Yeah.
people want to blame everything on this, and it's not everything.
Natural.
Yeah,
Right.
so, right. But when you see a pool deck, that the pool, you can see the water level
yeah,
is diagonal against your coping, your pool's moving. There's a big difference, and that I've seen that I've shocked
Right.
people that don't expect, no, my pool deck is sinking. No, your pool is coming out of the ground, look. And when you start showing these things,
Right.
it's like, oh, I never noticed that. I assure you, they didn't install the pool crooked, so the water
Right.
seats its level and the pool's coming out.
Right.
So,
and this is multi-phased, multifaceted, like this is not where this is gonna end. It'll evolve as things change. And, you know, one of the things that I was thinking to recommend for the future, once we have this established verbiage and messaging and image, is to also, in addition to catering it to the recipient, also distributing it in the right way to the right people, right? So you just gave great examples and some of the ways to illustrate the information at a third grade level, but also create an impact is to give them examples on how, you know, it's easily recognizable that they have blasting damages without it being your typical cracked driveway, right? Because
Right.
every single cracked driveway is not it's not a blasting problem, like you said. So, you know, creating a series and identifying a series of things that are common indicators of blasting damages that don't occur to people, like the pool one. That's like a perfect example. How many people in PSN don't we have that redo their pool decks like every couple years, when in fact a pool deck should last decades, you know? So those are things that could be brought to their attention and illustrated in a series that people like who continuously follow the message understand, like, oh, it's not just a cracked driveway, it could be this or it could be that. And eventually the information would be identified and associated to proper, you know, information that comes from us. So okay. So this is a preliminary plan. Like I said previously, I think we should focus on the first three things I mentioned. Number 1 and 2 are crucial to even, you know, doing anything, and that would definitely aid giving you guys something tangible to present at the time that you go to committee week and stuff. Not that you're going to bring it down to the third grade level, but that you're gonna have something tangible to present in front of these people, right? That follows our branding guidelines, style, and all of that. So I'll open it to questions and or remarks because I see we are kind of out. And we could always surface this topic again in the future.
Can we go home?
Uh,
Send it to me,
Yeah,
send it.
you can send it,
Send it to
and
us.
I'll attach it to the.
Yeah, and attach it to me.
That's what I told them.
That's it.
I mean, let's, if you don't mind me trying to. Put into like one motion everything we discussed, so that we can make sure we have it down.
Okay.
So let's make sure we have it. One, we gotta rebrand the logo.
Yeah.
And
I accidentally sent you the wrong version. Can I send you another?
Yeah.
so we gotta
I'll
rebrand the
send it to you in a
logo,
second.
and that's something that you could work with the town on. Second is, and I don't know, that's necessarily something we do now, but we want to work on the language of the flyer, at least create a new one that we would use more to disseminate to the public compared to just giving it to people that are more invested or
Yeah.
political representatives. So those are two major things we discussed that require like action items, right?
Correct.
Something that we didn't discuss, I know we discussed last meeting was, and I would like to have something like that to present to Tallahassee is some sort of like 1 to 2 minute video clip that we can also use.
That's why I
That's
said
something.
this was like multifaceted and it can grow in a lot of different directions, right? Like I would love for you guys to stand in front of, these people who you're illustrating the message to and do more than just speak, but like maybe show them a video and make it more like appealing to the eye and all of that. But yes, we could establishing the right brand recognition and image and all that would also segue into preparing you for that day.
Remember, Steve, you also have, public comments have X amount of minutes.
Yeah.
It's not like you have 5
Right.
minutes.
But if you
No,
plan it
no,
ahead of
but-
time, it could be
Yeah, but
executed.
no, I
in
would
a
say
fast
something
way.
like, again, I'm pointing you out, the two videos recently, those are pretty well done, quick, easy,
Yeah,
1 minute,
real quick.
just, but
Yeah.
something.
Actually, what are you doing tomorrow? Since we have a famous actor now. Let's do it.
Right, but not necessarily just for public comment, something that, all right, we're representative so-and-so, hey, take a look at this video, this is what we're here for, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be,
That's what I mean.
No, like the ones that we've been seeing, those are great. The public safety has done
Yeah.
that.
This is,
And as a matter of fact, should be on social media already.
they are, I've seen them.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I
talking
saw.
about blasting.
I agree, that's why I'm bringing it up.
That should have been created already.
Who filmed those? Who published?
Gun.
John?
Gun films.
I mean, the town
He's the
has,
videographer
has-
we use.
Yeah, you did very well.
has a,
I agree.
right, company they use, so there's cost to it.
It's at
Yeah.
a cost.
At
Now,
a cost.
there's cost to it, right? But if
Well, that's Francesca, because they must have the money.
let's say, we're told that you have a short period of time to prepare for, you going up in October, I mean, we're basically in September.
Yeah.
How much time can we possibly have
Yeah.
to come up with a perfectly created videographer produced budgeted video? Very
Approved by the
unlikely.
council.
Approved, right, very unlikely. Then at that point, it would be put on our plates to figure out how we're gonna come up with our own Mickey Mouse version, but still illustrating it professionally and well done in a way that the town can approve. Like, those are no longer, I'm not gonna say I'm resolving every single one of your communications problems, but that should no longer be something that's a hurdle, or at least not that big. I'm not a videographer, but I can help produce something.
But my idea for that is, all right, the 4 of us go, we're in our suits, 2 attorneys, we talk to them, we talk to them very professionally, but if we can get 3, 4 people on video, this is my house, this is this.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more, these are the people that we're talking about, we're representing these people, we're not just representing us on
Yes.
this board, we're representing the people that are every day because there's blasting, right?
When we talked about this last time, did you bring it up to Carousel or to anyone? About the little.
Are you guys
kids?
creating videos?
Yeah, remember we
Great.
talked about the
I'm
videos
not-
that they had put out?
I'm not sure that I did, but I recall the councilwoman being here and me telling you guys that that was done with the budget that the committee had,
Right.
and you guys. Like,
We had no
pretty much addressing that. Yeah, because those committees have budgets and that's what they use.
Yeah, we don't.
What kind of numbers are we talking about for a video like that, you know?
Like a minute and a half.
Those, I think he does them very cheap, like 300, 400.
Oh, that's it.
I mean,
I expected a lot more.
I'm sure.
But that's because, again, the committee have the choice, right? Like, we're not married to this videographer. Like, you guys, if there's anybody else that you guys recommend and you like better the style or anything like that, you can go with somebody else. But keep in mind that if you're looking at something with a small budget,
Yeah,
then you're more limited on who you can
it's
use.
gonna be a cell
Like,
phone.
he
camera.
usually helps us.
And
out a
if we
lot.
go external, it still has to be approved.
Yeah,
So. Francesca says she can do it, it still has, we still have to go through the.
Right, but you cut out a
if,
portion of the cost.
for your own knowledge, on Nextdoor, so I saw you had posted Nextdoor. If you query blasting with 3 exclamation marks, those are my write-ups. And I go back years of educating and informing the public step by step as I made discoveries and and learn not and obtain knowledge. I went advising and also sharing the readings. You know, for each, so I don't know, because Nextdoor goes by region or by neighborhood. Well, you're in PSN, so you'll get mine, but if everybody won't, you know, or may,
Right.
so I don't know.
It goes on
But
a
I-
specific radius.
Yeah, I put mine open for everybody to get it,
Mhm.
but you'll see
Right,
blasting 3 exclamation marks, that's me, that's like my tagline,
okay,
and I shared all of it.
okay. And if there are things that I mentioned that are already being done, I'm not saying this, like to criticize anything that was previously being done, it's more so like to expand, you know? And anything that we create at this elemental level,
you, didn't I?
can also be put on that. You know, we can all leverage our own personal networks and spheres to promote the same, so.
Absolutely.
So I guess the last question I have is, how do we want to move forward on creating a flyer that's, I want to.
Rudimentary.
Rudimentary, there you go, that's a nice way to put it.
Who would be the best suited for that? 'Cause I honestly, every time I try to do
I
this,
don't
I
think
get,
it's you.
I don't think it's me.
I don't, I mean,
Anyone but.
Fine, either.
I'm happy to take a look at it, I would need the last version. And just the text, obviously, we would have to rework, but I think maybe we're looking something a little bit more simple on.
But I don't think
Visuals.
using that as a basis is good.
Well, it's gotta start, I mean, you're right, maybe it isn't, maybe it's just sending something out, and you're right, something
I
very
mean,
easy.
I really see straight images. Do you have this? These are examples of seismic damage. The only seismic activities we have is blasting. Period.
So.
Yes,
I
sir.
would-
Click here for more information.
Yeah.
Yeah. you're
Yeah.
right, it is
Yeah,
something like that.
essentially.
Follow us for more. Yeah.
Picture is worth,
Yeah.
more than.
Yeah,
So.
So I'm a strategist, I am not a writer, and I am not a poet. So I definitely need the help of someone who's good with words. So if you're that person, you know,
Steven's excellent writer.
Okay, so
I don't
what,
want to keep tabs.
well,
on
what
that.
I would say is, you provide me images,
That's fine.
I'll do some text and you format it, so that's.
I'll
what-
marry it all together.
Right,
All right, well, that we could do.
so we'll do that. So that's for the one that we're going to just like throw out to
Mhm.
anybody.
Yeah.
I like what we have, maybe the one we have now to pass out on Tallahassee and stuff.
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
Updated a little bit, but
That's
I like it, I think it's really.
Also, like
Everybody
what
was
Brian did.
effective about it.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah,
I mean, people actually said, wow.
we just have to have the logo.
The flip side, and I'm putting it out there, you weren't at the town hall meeting. You were there,
Yeah.
you weren't there. The last one with Abel?
When, when he spoke, when Steve spoke,
No, that I presented
The,
at the country club
yeah,
Miami.
the June 21st, the Able.
of course I was there, I was
Yeah.
sitting right in front of the mayor.
In the front, yeah.
This one, you were there?
Yes, he was sitting right next to me. So
You guys were glossed over. I saw Steve because he came up after me.
I was right in front of him. Right-
When was there?
He was quite laughing.
Well, the point is, I made a comparison to one of the country's largest catastrophes, which is Surfside.
You'll never miss those meetings.
And it really hit a lot of people. I gotten a lot, I've never gotten more feedback than this presentation ever. So I wondered, now we're going, and I was beyond cautious with that one. And for liability's sake, we're making some serious claims there. And I'm very careful in the claims in doing a comparison of incidents. I said the big presentation I gave is why buildings fail, not comparing the two. But with the apartment roof collapse, I don't know, because there was a tree growing on the roof. I'm like, not with the damage that has. The similarities are gruesome from Surfside and here with the photographs that are there. Maybe doing something, I think it's too much. I'm answering my own question, but
I think people will see us trying to take advantage of that. I think
Yeah,
it's too
that's
much.
just.
I think the way you presented it was correct, and like, you understand
Yeah.
that these type of
That
things
was correct.
can make buildings fail. Here, look at what happened here.
Right.
But I think using it like on any written material, no, I wouldn't go that route.
okay.
I wouldn't. I think people are just gonna say, oh, well, you're trying to, use it to your advantage. I don't want to do
You're comparing. It'll be harder to understand.
Okay.
But I agree that, I do agree that the presentation made a lot of sense when you
Mhm.
look at it from, but that group of people that were there, a lot of them already knew. They show up because they know blasting, they knew about the meeting. Those are the people that really need to be, the rudimentary info needs to be sent in.
Okay.
All right.
You want to make the motion again?
Yes.
Since you started and then we started talking.
Yeah, so, okay,
The
so.
rerun of the logo.
So I'll make a motion that, Francisco, you're gonna work with the town to rebrand the logo. Regarding the flyer, I will, well, the three of us will share ideas together, images, text, and then putting it together to present in the next meeting, a redone flyer that would be the rudimentary flyer, let's call it. Those are two, what else are we missing? And those are the two names, right?
The logo, you said the logo.
Right, logo.
And the third was the new, the little clip, the video clip.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
That's like really important.
yeah, and then let's,
We gotta figure out how to get that done.
right,
But I think we gotta prioritize issues. So like the flyers and like a small flyer and the rudimentary advertisement. And the other, and the stuff for lobbying Tallahassee, let's prioritize that. I think the video will be a lot more production, no pun intended, to get it done, that because of time, we have time constraints to get these things first.
Well, but at least you put it in the motion, so.
correct, and discuss it. So, and the third, so that
Correct.
you.
They're working
all
simultaneously.
Can discuss with the town on trying to move forward, determine the cost and time
Of
to
the video.
prepare some sort of video clip.
Yeah.
So we need you to,
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
You'll be coming down an aisle now. So I'm passing the baton.
I'm passing it on. Last time, Steve, you're right. And maybe we had a motion on that.
Yes. I'll have to watch the video. Okay, that was good.
How many picks do you think for that? Should be included like two or three. I'm thinking.
I think that's her decision. I think you just let's just send pictures and figure out, which ones look good, which one works on a flyer, which one don't.
This is what I want you to do. One picture of the pool, one picture of a wall, one picture, like give me different settings.
I like her.
And then like that.
I told you, so I brought her in.
No, I like the way this is what you're gonna do.
And then he can illustrate what each one of those images mean and the consequences of it and whatever, and then we'll marry it all together, because you don't have to use it all at once.
Right.
We can have like,
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No problem, makes sense. I think we got that down.
Fair enough. All right, so I think that closes then 7A, I had B.
Yep.
Anything else you guys want to bring to the table?
We talked about, I'm gonna put an open discussion of budget issue, so we'll talk about that. I'm good.
Esther?
And Isle's gonna find out from the lobbyists.
Yeah, he's gonna send me a detailed
What-
request of what it is you guys are looking for, and then
And
I
then,
can.
and then the aide is gonna see if she can provide a calendar for Fabrizio's office.
So that's it?
Yeah.
We have a motion,
I make a motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
8:23.
From Cindy.